Wa-cha-cha-cha-cha! Well, that's just a thought, to be quite honest. I'm trying out this thing called catchphrases. Welcome, it's Breakfast Leftovers. I'm Leigh, and it's our podcast. Podcast number 31. Whoop, whoop. So, yeah, I'm trying out this whole thing, because Chowder said that everything sounds better when it has a catchphrase. And, well, this is a podcast and everything's about sound, right? So, I'm always trying to make it sound better. And it's Chowder. Chowder's very smart. And that is up for debate. Completely up for debate. But yeah, Chowder is pretty smart in my opinion. And I'm working on a catchphrase because he said, well, everything sounds better with a catchphrase. So it is episode 31 on, podcast 31 on Breakfast Leftovers. I'm Leigh, and what happens is every single day we get to conversate and we get to have lunch together or dinner together or supper together or breakfast. It's all up to you considerably, because the nice thing is you can also download these podcasts, and when you're out and about doing whatever you need to do and you don't feel like eating all by your lonesome, you can just enjoy your meal with moi. So it's going to be fantastic, enjoying your meal with moi. Really love that. So coming up in the show, because, winter is actually approaching, and it seems to be kind of steady in some parts of South Africa, but in other parts it's actually, kicking up a gear. We've had a lot of rain and all that stuff, but, sunshine is still South Africa's general weather. And what's going to happen is some people are going to get sick, they're going to get all throwy uppy and nauseous or headaches and colds and flus. But by the blood of Jesus, you are all healed. I believe it. So believe it too. So in combating all those other things that possibly could make us sick, we're gonna need strong antibiotics. A lot of people are already stocking up on antibiotics at the moment. Other people are taking vitamins. And if you feel like you're not gonna be spending your money on buying that stuff, there's other alternatives. Instead of taking vitamins or supplements that are made in a laboratory, you can do something else. Eat stuff that is actually very good for helping you with that. The other day we were talking about ginger and how good that is of an antibiotic. And there's other stuff that's also very good for antibiotic. And here on Breakfast Leftovers, I'm gonna, shed the light for you. And some of these things are very delicious. Some of them happen to be my favorite food. Some of them happen to be a mission. But, I guess I'm gonna cut away the mission ones, because I don't want you to work hard. I don't want you to slave. I don't want you to suffer in the process of being healthy. Well-being is very important to me, and it is important to me for you to have well-being. So that's why I share all these cool things. Then also still coming up in the show is something that parents are actually doing. A lot of parents do these things. They do these things quite often, and they have no idea that it's really bad. So that's still coming up in the show. And we are still trying to find a name for these for daily podcasts. So I've decided that today's going to be called Tuesday. Yeah, it's Tuesday today. That's what's up. Before that, played you Ambulance Ltd with Stay Where You Are. So that's exactly what you should be doing while you're on the go, listening to me. Alternatively, obviously. And then right now I got the Boom Clap Bachelors, and that's also awesome. So now I'm gonna get straight into it. We all know that antibiotics can be supplemented, but you can also have it naturally, because after all, the human body is naturally instructed to constantly fight all these hard against bacteria, things like germs and viruses that we may ingest, especially through the air that we're breathing or the food that we eat. Remember the last I told you about pus? Well, however, sometimes there is actually need to provide the right natural foods to our bodies for this purpose. Now, this is important for us to combat many of these infections. And these actually, as I mentioned before, flus and colds and stuff like that, skin infections, you even upset stomachs, bad bacteria, it can actually be harmful for your health. And therefore, the internal defense mechanism, it has to be always active. And our immune system is actually strong, but it sometimes requires help. So what we can do is help our immune system by giving it very cool things. I mean, I told you about honey, I told you about turmeric, and I also told you about ginger. Today, I'm going to tell you about this very, very cool thing. It's awesome. I love it. And quite recently, I've noticed that my daughter loves it as well. So, I'm talking about pineapple. Yeah, I'm eating. That's what we do. If you don't know, and it's the first time you listen to Breakfast Leftovers, as I enjoy my meal with you, which is something I would never do because talking with my mouth full is definitely something rude, but because you can't see me, I'm doing it anyway. So, as I was saying, my daughter loves this fruit and I love it. Every time I go to town, she's either asking me to bring this or grapes. Now, the benefits of a pineapple, which is also the fruit I'm talking about, it includes effectively fighting off bacteria and germs naturally. It is a sweet and juicy tropical fruit that can be consumed. It's either you can have it raw, or you can have it as a juice, or you can have it in some smoothie. Moreover, it actually plays a role of an amazing antibacterial food that helps combating and invading cells in the mouth and throat. Yes, the things that come into our mouth and throat. Remember I told you about this, like bacteria is everywhere. It's in your mouth. Every time you open your mouth, bacteria is coming in. Your mouth, not mine. It's coming in and it's doing stuff. And there's also all these weird creatures that are like laying eggs in your body and on your face and in your mouth. And they look disgusting. Disgusting, I'm telling you. Excuse me. So, as I continue talking and eating, so this is actually going to help invade those cells that are coming into our throat and mouth. Now, fresh pineapple juice is actually known home remedy to cool the blood and reduce inflammation of the nose and guess what? Sinuses. So who would have thought that eating a lot of pineapple would actually be good for somebody who's suffering from sinuses? Well, now you know. Thanks to moi. Yes, breakfast leftovers. We school you, we help you, we keep you healthy and all that shish kebab. So, hope you're enjoying that. So, wondering what I'm eating. I'm eating pasta, spaghetti to be exact, that has chicken and mixed vegetables and a lot of chili. A lot of chili. A lot of chili. Yeah, Baba. Yeah, Baba. I told you this is such a same sound. So anyway, I have my very first leftovers. We also share some recipes, which is what I did yesterday. So listen to podcast 30 and find out a very cool recipe there. And share with your friends. Try it out. I usually make these recipes very easy. You don't necessarily have to put all the ingredients in there unless it's very little ingredients, and they actually are ingredients that make up the thing itself. But things like spices and stuff like that, it's all about taste, and it depends what you feel like eating and so forth. So this thing is really hot. Now, something that's very interesting and that I found was, as parents, we sometimes think that we know what we're doing, right? And okay, no, I'm lying. I'm talking so much BS because there's no parent that actually knows that they know what they're doing. Like, we all trying this ish out, it's like our parents did it, they showed us how terrible it is, so we kind of take the reins from them and we try our best to raising our little mini-me's the best way we know how to. Now there's a bunch of stuff that we are actually believed with, like we think that this thing is legit, but quite honestly, it has its own faults. It has loopholes. It's not a yoba. It's not cool. As a matter of fact, it's very bad. You know what I'm saying? It's like really, really bad. Some of the stuff that we think is cool, and we find that it's actually not cool. But at the end of the day, we try. We continue to trying as parents, and we're gonna keep trying. Excuse me. We're gonna keep trying and trying and trying. Now, one of the things that we found was, like some parents actually think that telling their child that they fat or they too thin or they ugly is actually a good thing. Like it'll build their, I don't know, gosh, I'm not the kind of parent who would do that to my child, but some of them have this self-defense and they say, well, it's so that it builds their character. But I don't understand how you can build somebody's character, honestly speaking, by totally tearing them down and making them feel like they're absolutely nothing. Oh, I just remembered something. It's so random. It's so random. Can you imagine a strawberry weighing 289 grams? 289 gram strawberry. That's its weight. Anyways, that strawberry, it was apparently a giant strawberry, and it's actually declared the largest, on a record. After it's sitting in the freezer for like a year, which is so unfair. Because, it would have been nice to see how plump and awesome it is, but then there's no way I can show you because it doesn't look pretty. Because it's been in the freezer, it's shrunk like double its size. But a 289 weighing, 289 gram weighing strawberry, that's pretty huge. I can imagine. I'm not gonna say I can't because I can. I can imagine the strawberries and cream that I alone will devour. Well, strawberry and cream because that thing is huge after all. But overall, there are certain things that we need to remember about ourselves. Is that we are people and we make mistakes. We constantly are at war with ourselves as to what we are doing, whether it's right or wrong. We have a problem in actually understanding that ourselves make mistakes. And that's why sometimes we find ourselves to be so very defensive. And honestly, it's very scary how some of us are so defensive that we push away the people that are in our lives, that love us and care about us and so forth. And the reason why we do this is because, yes, besides us being stupid, but well, it's part of it, it. It's that we are also hurting ourselves in the process, because the moment we push away the people that care about us, that means we also end up not having loved ones in our lives, so therefore we also suffer the consequences, so to speak. So be careful how you treat people. Be careful how you speak to people. Be careful how you react to certain things that people do as well, because let's face it, we are not perfect. No one is perfect. No one can be perfect. But what we can do is strive for perfection by literally only just being honest with ourselves and knowing our faults and knowing, our limitations. And that is honestly what can help us in reality. And if we don't do this, like if we don't try to know our problems, our core things that push us to the limit, is we're going to be pushed to the limit all the time. And you don't want that. You don't want to be pushed to the limit all the time. You don't want to be that person that always has a short temper You don't want to be known as that person that people prevent, because one minute we're having fun, the next minute, oop, you know, somebody is really pissed off. So these are the kind of things that we need to do for ourselves, is look within, know ourselves, know what we are capable of, know what we desire, know what irritates us, and be honest with it. Because sometimes you end up pushing the people away that you really really care about the most, only because, well, because we're dumb and we humans, and that's what humans do. They do dumb stuff. But in reality, what we can do is stop ourselves in the tracks and actually come to the realization of, like, look, Rose, you've been get that ahead. This is wrong. This is not what you should be doing. So I did tell you, like, for example, like, you find some parents, they will tell their children, like, you're fat, you're ugly, you're too skinny, and things like that. And what that actually does is it makes those children feel like they are not going to be loved by anyone else. They feel so insecure about themselves because already, like, the closest person, the one that brought you into this world, is the one that's telling you that this is how you look and it's not attractive and it's not appealing. And, like, if that's coming from the person who gave birth to you and knows your flaws and everything, how much worse are they supposed to expect the world is going to give them? Honestly, no, a whole lot worse. So we shouldn't be parents that do that to our children. We shouldn't be parents that force our kids to have a certain weight or to do certain things that we wanted to do. And that's also another thing that parents do that is a complete no-no, is they literally force their kids to do, study, implement, push them to do jobs or to study or to be what they failed to become. So they literally put those failures on their children. It's terrible. And there's also another thing that I learned, and obviously by learning, I checked this, I researched it, and I looked all over for it, is that most parents, okay, they've been in such uncomfortable situations where the child basically refuses to share a toy with another child at the playground or during a play date. So now basically, as a parent, you'd sit there and try to coax your child into giving up the toy that they were enjoying because another child is interested in it. Now the question is, why do we do this? Because one of the principles of early childhood education is actually teaching children to play well together, which many parents assume it means teaching their kids to share. And it's not. Because what the goal of teaching our kids to share is, the question is, do we actually think teaching our kids to share will help them fit in? That's dangerous, right? I mean, do we want to train our kids to grow up into, like, generous people by meeting the needs of others? Think about it. Do we? No, we don't. Or is it because we want other adults to see that we are following social norms and to make sure that they don't even think that we are selfish or negligent parents? Is it? Well, it's crazy, but during early, like, formative years, kids actually learning how to meet their own needs. Now, the concept of sharing or lending, and borrowing are basically very complicated for small kids. Like, toddlers have not even developed empathy and they can't see things from another child's perspective. Now, forcing a child to share, it doesn't actually teach the social skills, that we want toddlers to actually learn. Instead, it may send a very, very wrong and different message. And it could send a message that we actually don't want to send. And it may actually increase how often our toddlers throw a tantrum. So don't send a wrong message, okay? Now, don't do that. Like, it happens where kids are, like, playing. like I told you, and you're like, give him the toy, no, don't do that, because you actually are kind of sending around a wrong message. Now kids end up doing stuff like they cry loudly, and then it helps them get what they want. And then also parents who are in charge of who gets what and when, and they, oh, it's terrible, because children actually should always, and they end up interrupting what they're doing to give something to another child just because the other child asked for it. And they grow up with this kind of things. I mean, these are not the messages we intend to provide our children. But unfortunately, when forced to share, this is often what children may take in. So they are giving it to that. Like if somebody makes a lot of noise, give it to them. Or if somebody's like wanting something that you have, just give it to them. It's very bad, right? So we need to do something. We need to provide these children. I mean, I'm talking to you whether you have a child or not. Because this world will always have children in it. Production continues to exist. And you've got cousins and cousins and nieces and nephews and all that stuff, And you can do this, when you're spending some time with them. And then obviously also, share what you've learned with their parents at a completely different time, not when it happens, because then they're gonna feel like, oh, what, you don't even have a child and you're telling me how to raise my child. No, you don't want that. Just like hoiden when you're not even with the children, when nothing bad's happened. So instead of forcing your children to share, what you can do is give them tools to handle conflicts. Now, the goal is actually for my child to notice when another child would like a turn with something, and actually to ensure that the child gets their turn. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's not like immediately giving in to the child, but it's saying, okay, look, I'm still playing with it, and I'm going to play with it for about 10-15 minutes or less, because children have a short attention span and time is much longer for them than it is for us adults. And then you can give over the toy to the child. Now, when another child has actually an item that my child wants, as a parent, I'd hope that they'll be able to control their impulses and not simply grab the item out of the child's hands. You know what I'm saying? So we should actually model patience. And by that way, let's face it, I mean, I hope, and I'm sure you hope, that your brothers, your nieces, your daughters, your sons use their words to work out situations with other children, so that they can actually play with items in the future. And what we should actually do is provide them with the appropriate language, and that only can happen from us. And that is teaching our kids to be able to advocate for themselves. So this is all good and well, and I know I've already put so much information in your mind, so I'm going to give you like a 10-second break. When you give it 10, your break is over. So with all this information that I've just given you, I hope that it brings some light in your head, your Bruda LeBlanca, because let's face it, we are in a society where a lot of people are selfish. A lot of people don't want to, share. And if somebody doesn't want to share, well, they don't want to share, and no one should force them. But we need to be able to live in a society where we can give and want to give, and it should be practiced by everyone, not just you. Your neighbor should want to give, not just you always giving to your neighbor. It should be that kind of society, and that can only happen honestly and truly when we change ourselves and we start to be good advocates of this. Kids can become advocates for themselves, and if they can grow up in a world where I don't have to give everything because somebody's crying for it, or somebody wants it, or somebody, it teaches them to use their words and work things out. And it also teaches them as an adult to live in this world without, forcing the things that they want to happen in their lives. Obviously, if it's in somebody else's hands, you cannot force it. You can't change that. But what it can do is we can teach them to be good negotiators. They can be able to talk, and when they get older, they become great communicators, and then they become good people within the society and the human race, and we become this wonderful world, which I imagine me living in and us living in every single day. So this can truly happen if we start now with the younger generation and teaching them and showing them how to communicate. Don't throw tantrums, don't throw bitch fits. Just literally open up your mouth, get your point across without judgment and without being rude and without swearing. It's really that simple. Which reminds me, that's also another thing that parents should do. Don't swear at your child. If your child's having a bad day and they're acting like an a-hole, don't call them an a-hole. Jeez. You also have a bad day. Imagine your child turns around and calls you an a-hole because, he heard you daddy say a-hole, or your mommy, whatever the case may be. Don't do that. That's just wrong. Don't swear at children. Which reminds me, I need to make a Facebook status about that. So, anywho, we need to encourage self-regulation within ourselves. As human beings, whether we're a child or an adult or whatever, we need to be able to play freely. We need to be able to feel fulfilled by every single experience, and then still be able to give back whatever we want to give to people when we are finished and when we are happy. I mean, this method will encourage a lot of self-regulation, a lot of self-discipline, and the ability to actually know when one is actually feeling satisfied. It also promotes generosity, because whether you're a child or an adult, we enjoy making other people happy. And when we are able to do it, especially on their own time and not when they are forced to, they learn how to be kind at giving. So that's how we're going to grow. We're going to be kind in giving. We're going to learn to self-regulate. We're going to encourage it, of course. We're going to teach ourselves as well as our children to be able to advocate ourselves, to speak up, to communicate well. And we are also going to provide all these tools to the people in our lives around us. What's the point of learning something if learning how to switch on the stove and use it and not teach the people that you live with? Because then obviously they're going to break it, right? So you show them as well, so that we can live in like a fairly happy, generous, glad, fulfilled world. And in reality, when we are happy and we are fulfilled and we are just feeling so much joy, what happens also is that the people around us feel at ease, and they also end up being such givers, and they end up being so open, and they end up being so kind to us, because that's exactly what we offer. And that's exactly how they feel like the need, they feel this need to make us happy, because we generate that frequency on a constant, you understand? And my nose is like blocked because of this thing I've been eating. Sure, bruh, it's so hot. And I didn't even think I put so much chili in it, but clearly I did. So it's breakfast leftovers. I'm Roseanne, and make sure that you please subscribe at the bottom by hitting that notification bell. Give us a thumbs up by liking. So click on the thumb pointing up. Shop. Click on the shop. And like the podcast, share them, and do all these amazing other things as well. So, did I tell you what I'm eating? I think I did. but it's so delicious. I put so much cheese. There's literally more cheese than pasta. And that, okay, well, not that much cheese, but yeah, I'm totally exaggerating. But it's a lot of cheese, nonetheless. It's a lot of cheese. And then there's also chicken. And when I make pasta, I make some parts of the chicken into pieces so that, when you grab pasta, you have some chicken. And then I have big pieces of chicken as well so that, you can still enjoy your chicken as like a piece of chicken. You can enjoy your thigh as a thigh. You know what I'm saying? So it's a Tuesday. And the music, this is Hozier and someone new rather. Grizzly Baby for that night, Friendly Fires, Paris, Felix Labard. Is it not? No, it's Felix Laband and Donkey Rattle, Deerhunter-Helicopter, Boom Clap, Bachelors-falder, as well as Boom Clap Bachelors with Skynd. Yo, those two songs are amazing. I'm like in love with Boom Clap Bachelors, I won't lie, because they're just so amazing and fantastic. So I think what you should do also at the bottom in the comments is also let us know like what other music you want to listen to. I don't mind going all the way back, and I don't mind going into the future, which you will, because the music that hasn't been released yet, I'll have it here, because luckily I have those kind of connections. Ha 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 ha. And no, I won't get into trouble, because the artists themselves would be the ones that will have given it to me, and I wouldn't tell you what songs they are or who it is, because then haters. I'll just play it and I wouldn't credit them, but it will be there and you'll hear it, so yay, that's what matters, you being happy and you going yay. So anyway, I'm still thinking of a catchphrase. I thought about but then I'm not quite sure if it makes my face look pretty when I say it. Then once I have a catchphrase, I'm gonna say it every time I start the podcast, and that's gonna be awesome, right? So for myself, Rosalie and we've already learned how amazing pineapple is a great antibiotic. We've also learned how to be very good and sharing, as well as being able to communicate and advocate of ourselves. And we've also learned that chili is pretty chilly, man. It's very, very chilly, but it's delicioso. So for myself, Rosie Ann, breakfast leftovers. Ciao.